So, as Josh says, I'm Darren, one of the Segen residential sales managers. I'm just going to chat to you a little bit about obviously if we're working with Segen, and then obviously I'll pass you over to Craig for the good stuff. Basically, with Segen, you can, we work online with our online portal. So you can use the portal itself when you get your login details. You can use the portal for projecting your pipeline using our, the quoting system. You can create the quotes with the design tool. But you can literally project everything on there with all the quotes for your future pipeline, products. Being able to access everything through the product page as well. You can see everything that we do. Um, we do actually have the largest product portfolio in the industry, so there's everything that you can view there. And then any further help that's needed, you have people like me. So on your sales side, you have a sales manager, projected for your account. You have your own order processor as well, so get to actually get the orders out to your door. And then you also have a finance contact and any technical contact where it's needed, whether you're on site or whether it's just regarding about an order itself. We're always contactable. Any questions or anything through this as well, by all means, bang it in the chat or give your account manager a call. We are always around. Um, but like I said, with the portal itself, there's everything on there, like I said, including the products, the prices, everything that you actually need, and all the contact details as well to get to anybody you need to actually get hold of, so your sales managers and such. But on that note, I'll pass you over to Craig.
Okay, so we'll try and plow through this then. So yeah, thanks guys for the introduction. So I'm Craig. I'm the service director at Fox in the UK. I also oversee the product side as well. So the purpose of today is really to introduce you to some new products we've got coming in. A sort of adjustment of our single phase storage range. Some of you will be coming at this completely fresh, won't have any knowledge of our existing products. Some of you will be very familiar with them and are more interested in the new stuff. So we'll try and cover, you know, both really, and try and give you an insight into the new stuff, but also just clarify on the existing stuff as well. So I think we could skip on to the next one if that's all right. Quickly before we get into the product stuff, then, for those of you that aren't familiar with Fox, just a couple of bits of information there that you'll find useful. One of the key benefits of Fox is our ownership structure. It's very, very large company, part of a big global conglomerate. Within our group of companies, we have mining operations, so we've got lithium mining resources. Gives us a really significant advantage in terms of supply chain. What it enables us to do is to basically procure the raw materials, develop the products, and do so in a really streamlined way. It means we've got high quality products at a really good price point. So we're kind of unique in that sense, and it does give us a bit of an edge. In terms of market share, just an update on that now. Fox is comfortably number one position in terms of domestic market share. It actually isn't even close. It's just a huge difference between us and second place. We have all sorts of data. S&P Global Insights is one. They have us at more than 40%. I think Q4 2024 was over 50% of the UK domestic sector for storage, 4,000 to 4,500 connections every month. We're way above everybody else at the minute. That's a good thing. It also obviously creates challenges, and in terms of service and after sales and that sort of thing, that we're trying to continually improve to make sure that we adjust as as we continue to grow rapidly. A typo on that presentation. That's on me. Ease of install. Okay, so these are just a few things like bullet points why Fox. We do design and develop the products to be as easy to install as possible. So we've got the modular systems like the inverter, separate battery systems we're going to talk about in a bit. We still make them as plug and play, and obviously we're now introducing these all-in-one systems. The idea is minimal cabling, as few commissioning steps as possible. And genuinely, and those of you that are installing, say, I know, our energy cubes and our H1 K series inverters, will testify that they are very simple to install and commission. So that's something that we do prioritize. Last thing, tier one manufacturer, the Bloomberg tier one list. Fox is one of the few companies at tier one, and to get onto that list, to have that status, you obviously need a very detailed audit process, product quality, innovation, market influence, stability, financially, all that sort of stuff. So just to let you know, it can be quite useful to know. We're working on projects, with government bodies, local authorities to know that we are a tier one. Okay, so we can skip on. I've got the boring corporate stuff out of the way, so we can talk about the products now. So this is kind of the in terms of our new marketing push. This is how we're presenting it really, and that's that we have these different options. One family, every scenario covered. So some marketing buzzwords here, but essentially it's important we get this message across. What you have on the left there, as you look at that image, is our conventional modular system, separate inverter, battery. What that gives you is scalability, flexibility, and also maximum, cost effectiveness in terms of price per kilowatt hour. That's where we're super competitive, because we can be. And also, it has some degree of flexibility in terms of scaling and sizing and that sort of thing. Or if you've got an awkward install location, you've got that flexibility. On the right-hand side, we've got the Power Cube. That's our new stackable all-in-one. So that gives you really, really high power density in a small footprint. Okay, so it's nice and compact. You can get up, up to over 30 kilowatt hours, all-in-one IP66. You can go outdoors. So it's obviously an all-in-one system that's enables easy scalability because they're essentially energy cubes. EQ batteries that are sitting underneath that inverter. We're going to talk about this in a bit more detail in a second. And then down the middle, we've got the Evo. Okay, that's our new sort of the pretty slimline, composite glass panel, fully integrated all-in-one IP66, battery. So we're going to talk about it in a bit more detail. So these are the three sort of offerings that we're going to go to market with. Over the next sort of 3 to 6 months in terms of, and this is how we're going to push them out in terms of marketing. So, one scenario, every scenario covered basically. So there's a system for every potential scenario you can think of. So we can move on to the next one. I think we're going to go into the Evo first of all. That's just a sort of a title slide. So there you go. So I've mentioned it already. You can see there it's an all-in-one. It's a wall-mounted system. There is actually, you can actually put some feet on there, but you still must put it on the wall bracket. So this is a true all-in-one. You can see it doesn't actually come across very well on the image there that there's a glass, like I say, a glass composite panel that goes on which is very nice to look at aesthetically. It's very easy on the eye. Around the sides there, you've got the inputs covered by a magnetic panel. So if you go through to the next one, you'll start to see it. There you go. So you can see where those panels come off on the side, but they do slot back on nice and easy. They're magnetic, so it fully encloses the unit. So inverter features, okay. So the inverter specifically comes in 3 sizes, okay. So it's a 5, an 8, or a 10 kilowatt inverter. Okay, they're separate units, so you can't by software turn it into an 8 or a 10. You would need to buy whichever size system you require for that particular install. 5, 8, and 10. 2 to 3 MPPTs. Okay, so it's 2 on the 5, and then it goes up to 3 on the 8 and the 10. Really high PV oversize ratio on this. On the smaller unit, the 5, you can get up to 15 kilowatts of PV into a 5 kilowatt inverter. I wouldn't recommend that you oversize to that degree, but it is a very, very high oversize ratio that it does allow you to get around some of the potential DNO restrictions and that sort of thing. Low startup voltage and mirroring our H1K series range at 80 volts. It does have a screen. You can't see it on that side. It's on the other side, as you're looking at an image, it covers it with a magnetic panel. So it does have a screen. So it's not one of these that is only app controlled. We've got, obviously adjusted for the latest panels. So it's 20, 25 amp IMP IC. So loads of scope there. EPS, separate thing we'll talk about, but to let you know, when the Evo is launched, sort of end of June time, beginning of July, there will be an EPS gateway launched with it. So for whole home backup, you will have a new Fox EPS box, which will be launching with the Evo itself. Now, in terms of comms, I think there was a question there. So you can see actually at the top labeled as a Wi-Fi antenna. So unlike our existing inverters where we have a dongle, this actually has internal Wi-Fi. Now, just underneath that, there's also a LAN port. It's not really clear on the image, but you can hardwire the connection directly into the LAN port. You can also add a dongle. Okay, so even though it's built in Wi-Fi antenna and built-in LAN ports, you can also use a dongle. Obviously, that means that's going to stick out from the side of the unit. Okay, so for example, if you wanted a 4G connection for the inverter, there will be a 4G dongle for that, so you would need to utilize the USB port and a dongle on the side. But for the most part, for Wi-Fi LAN connections, it's all integral into the unit, and you can just about see it on the top of the image there. I think there was a question about oversize. I think the oversize is at 200% on the 8 and the 10. Okay, so it's variable depending on the size of the actual inverter inside. There is a data sheet published. It does go into a bit more detail on that in terms of the oversize ratios. What have we said there? Parallel mode, yeah. So you can get up to 3 of these. What you can't do with this system is just expand the battery module. Okay, so when you're paralleling whole units. Excuse me. So you would be increasing the storage capacity as you parallel, but also increasing the charge capacity as well. So it's IP66. We can skip on to the next one there, as we mentioned. So the battery features then. So the lower sort of half of the unit is the battery element, which is 10.24 kilowatt hours. Okay, LFP battery, high quality cells. As I've mentioned, you can have 3 of these in parallel. Optimizers, I see a question come up there. I am catching some of the questions, so apologies for missing them. But what I'll do is I'll look back to them at the end and cover them off. Should work with Tego optimizers, yeah. Should be no issues there at all. So it'll work with Tegos. So it's 95% depth of discharge. Okay, which is a slight deviation from our current batteries, which tend to be 90%. High charge rate. So yeah, if you've got the 10 kilowatt inverter, you will achieve up to 10 kilowatts of continuous power. So, you're going to get also approaching 1C on that. Integrated battery warm up. So that's a key feature. Obviously, the design of this has been very much with outdoors in mind. So naturally, the battery itself has the built-in warm up function that we currently have on some of our other models. That's now a standard feature. Built-in fire suppressant. So, I mean, it's a premium product in terms of its build quality. It's something you'll see when you physically see it. And again, probably questions about it, which we'll loop back to as we go through. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, we can skip on to the next one now. I think it's just a summary here. You've got the dimensions there. You can see it's very slimline. So it's just over a meter high, 600 mil or just under wide, and about 20 centimeters deep. Now, I think there's a question about it going on the wall. So yeah, it's secure against the wall on a bracket. You can have it elevated up, a foot or two, or you can have it on the wall, but you can also put it on feet that come with it, slightly adjustable. So you can have it kind of at ground level. Must go on the bracket though. Weight wise, and okay, there's obviously it's a big unit, it's an all-in-one, so you are over 100 kilos. I think it's lighter. It is lighter than the Tesla Powerwall, for example. But obviously, this is quite a heavy unit, so something you need to be mindful of. Again, goes back to that sort of slide I gave you at the beginning, which is saying, look, we've got all these different solutions for these different scenarios. The modular solution, the benefit of that is, of course, you've got individual battery units that, the combined weight is a lot, but individually they're not. So you've got to weigh up these in terms of, what solution you offer to your customer, because there's pros and cons of all of them. I think there was a question there about security. There's nothing that we're going to provide that would offer you, I think, the level of security you're referring to there in terms of anti-theft. There are third-party solutions that we are looking at, maybe as something we can offer, but nothing confirmed on that yet. So just to answer that question, because I just saw that come up. Okay, so I think we've probably covered that in as much detail as we need to for now. We can loop back to it with questions at the end. The power queue then, there are lifting handles with it. They come with the product and they screw in, so you can utilize the lifting handles to lift it into place. We are looking at as well as some trolleys, some hydraulic trolleys, which we may bring in, and we can. There will be a charge for them, but obviously you don't need lots of them. You can have one per fitting team. So we're looking to make these hydraulic trolleys available to you as well to help with the installation. So the power cube, just moving on to that. In fact, okay, so there were some questions here. So pricing is not for me to answer. I'll leave that to the guys at Segen to give you your pricing. Excuse me. Can you link a 5 kilowatt unit to say an 8 kilowatt inverter unit? I believe so. Yes. The ideal scenario when you're paralleling and you're scaling up is to keep them the same size, but we are going to allow some deviation on that. Okay, but yeah, it's not recommended because you've got obviously different rates of charge. So, for example, if you were charging two systems in parallel from the grid, the charge capacity is different across both. You're going to work the battery slightly differently over time. So we do recommend you keep the same size, but it's not a rule. You can mix them. Okay, so I think I'm caught up on the questions. So the power cube then. Okay, so as you look at that unit there, you can see different elements to it. On the top, what you've got there is an inverter, and then the unit beneath it is actually connected into the inverter. It's the BMS. So 3 to 11 kilowatts. Okay, so that's the inverter sizing range that we offer. And then these are paired with the new EQ batteries. Okay, so the EQ 4300s initially, and you can obviously scale them up and build your stack accordingly. 200% PV oversize ratio on this. You can get up to 30 kilowatt hours at the moment, utilizing the 4300s. Okay, this has also got the built-in fire suppression and the battery warm-up technology that we've talked about previously is obviously integrated into this. It's IP66. So again, this is really, primed for outdoor installation for for those, given, the general trend in the market now to install outdoors more. Okay, ideally still go in an indoor location if it's at all feasible, but outdoors not a problem with these at all. So if we skip on to the next one, this is just showing you the different elements to it. So I've mentioned, if you look at the top right there, that's the inverter and BMS. So the difference here compared to, say, a conventional H1 K series with, say, the ECS batteries, which have been on the market now for several years. Those batteries comprise of a master and then slave batteries. Okay, so this doesn't, okay, because the BMS is actually integrated into the inverter unit, as you can see on the top right. So all you need there is slave batteries, okay. The slave batteries are essentially energy cubes, sort of variants of, and then you can see at the top left there's a base. So this needs to go onto that base unit, okay. So you'll get that with the system, because you obviously need a base unit for every stack you build. Slave batteries go on top, inverter and BMS, which is a single integrated unit, goes on top of that. Now, be mindful of the fact that this is expandable. Okay, it's one of the key benefits of it. But as you expand, that system is going to expand vertically because you're stacking on top of each other. So, you're talking of cable routing and everything into the inverter unit that may change as you expand the unit further down the line. So just need to be mindful of that. So these are not wall mounted. Okay, they're floor mounted with a bracket to secure them against the wall. Okay, so you're not mounting them on the wall. They are mounted on the base, but you can secure them to the wall with a bracket that is provided. So it's very similar to the existing energy cube in that sense. Okay, so obviously these are fatter as well. So if you talk about the Evo very slimline, these obviously are, as the sort of marketing says, muscular in sort of their design, and in order to give you the maximum amount of energy density in a small footprint. So that and the weight wise, whereas we talked about the Evo being over 100 kilos for the one unit, these obviously between 30 and 40 kilos for each battery unit. So obviously the combined weight to scale to quite significant amounts as you build a full stack, but individually they're manageable by a single person. That's the key thing. The inverter is quite heavy on top with the BMS, but there are handles as well. So there are screw holes on either side. So those handles are provided in order to lift that onto the top slave battery. Where this cought's come from. Yeah, if you go to the next slide. Okay, this is just illustrating that there are new battery variants that we're releasing, which are really primed to work with the Power Cube. In terms of when it's available, the Power Cube should be available now. Okay, there's stock in the UK. It's available, so you'll need to place the order with Segen. There's no reason why you can't order one today, unless they have not got listed yet. I haven't checked that, but so yeah, that was just showing you on the previous slide there that there was new EQ variants. There you go. The one that's I think most readily available at the moment is the 4300. Okay, so and they're brought in because they've got the heaters built in, so you can use them with a Power Cube. Yeah, all good to go. Okay, so that's that. Then it's just really just covering again the existing product range we have. Sort of modular approach. Some of you are familiar with this, some of you won't be. So the H1 AC1 Generation 2, it's a 3 to 6 kilowatt hybrid inverter straight AC charger. Yeah, PV oversize ratio actually increased through firmware to 200%. Okay, so there's a new data sheet. It's the only change to that new data sheet, but it's something to be aware of. It might be relevant to you. The export limitation feature, all this is standard. Nothing there out of the ordinary. EPS. So the EPS wiring of these systems is as it's always been. There's an EPS output, and you've got options there for things like a socket with an RCD or split board arrangement for emergency circuits. However, the gateway, the EPS box, as we're going to call it, for whole home backup, we're launching with the Evo at the end of June, beginning of July. You can use it on these systems as well. Okay, so you'll be able to use that whole home backup gateway on the H1 range of the K series. The 200% firmware on the H1, yeah, well, it can do, but you need a firmware update. Okay, so if you've got a H1G2 in the field, with latest firmware, it will accept a PV oversize up to 200% on the power input, and that obviously will work its way in as standard as new products come into the country. It will be preloaded with that firmware, but anything that's already installed would have to update the firmware in order for that to take effect. Without that, you may get an alert if the PV input power is above the current threshold, which is 150. Okay, yeah, data loggers all comes as standard now. As you know, the standard issue data logger with all H1s now is Wi-Fi and LAN in one. It's called the WLAN data logger. It has caught a few people out because they've got a box and on the outside it says WLAN data logger, and they open it up and they see that it's got an Ethernet port on it, and they think, oh, I've been sent a LAN data logger, not Wi-Fi. I've got the wrong one. It's not the case. It's actually Wi-Fi and LAN in one. So just be aware of that. Okay, so I think we can go on because the next one is the K series. Again, this is just a mature product. It's been on the market for 18 months or so, 2 years. Thousands of them out there, so you're probably familiar with this, a lot of you. 7 to 10.5 kilowatts, 4 MPPTs on the larger units. Everything else I've just mentioned in terms of the CT connection is the same as it is with the H1. Same point to make about the new data loggers inside the box and the EPS as well. So obviously power alarm mode on these inverters is available. That's both the H1 and the K series up to 10 units. Yeah, so that's obviously just summarizing those two inverters, and then we can go into the current battery offerings that we pair with these. The first is the ECS. Again, this has been out now for 3-4 years. It's gone through some slight variations over that time. Currently, we're still offering the 2900s, the 4300s, and the 4800s. Now, by the way, the EQ 4300 slaves that we're bringing in for the Power Cube, they will work on a conventional ECS stack. So if you've got an ECS 4300 with, say, 3 batteries, and your customer wants to add a fourth, and you can only get the EQ 4300, the new variant, that's been brought in for the power cube will work perfectly well. Okay, it's exactly the same. Don't there's no issues there at all. However, the heating function within that EQ battery won't be utilized in a conventional ECS style like this. It'll just become redundant because obviously the other batteries that it's being paired with haven't got it. So it's just about that point because it has come up in the last few days a few times, people asking that question. So obviously you people are aware that you've got scalability here. The most you can have up there is just a shade of 42 kilowatt hours at the minute, which is a stack of 9 4800s. Again, the benefits of the ECS are well established in terms of its small footprint, floor mounted, etc. I'll come back to that question in a second. It just disappeared off my screen, but I'll come back to it. Yeah, so Energy Cube is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And just to let you know what the plans are in terms of future models, a lot of it will be geared around the power cube, but obviously we'll still be bringing in master batteries and still selling this as a solution of its own, and also providing the batteries to allow for a system expansion for systems that are already out there. Okay, yeah, so we can move on now to the EP batteries. Oh, this is just clarifying on stack sizes. It's worth noting this. I don't expect you to take this down now, but there is this particular chart is available on our tech website as well. So it's just a quick reference for you for understanding the stack sizes that are permissible with the different inverter models that we've been talking about. So most notably on 3-phase, always make sure you have 3 batteries as a minimum. And obviously the EQ 4800 being the outlier, you can go to 9 because it's a slightly lower voltage. So we can move on from there. So the EP then, again, this is quite a mature product now. It's been out for a while. 2 variants, as you can see. We've got the EP5, the EP11. So 5.18, 10.36. Okay, so double the size physically, double the size in terms of capacity. This can scale by installing in parallel. So it's a wall-mounted battery. Slimline, goes on the bracket, can sit on the floor. But if you put it on the floor, you must mount it on the bracket still because there is a topple risk. You can't leave it freestanding. Now, pretty much exclusively, we're bringing in the H models, so EP5-H, which denotes heater. Okay, these have been used in huge numbers in projects and new builds, build-to-rent schemes, social housing, private customers. A lot of them are going outdoors now, so it made sense, obviously, that we incorporate into that temperature regulation that helps with that sort of winter performance. So the -H models, as listed on Segen, denote that it's got an internal heater which is controllable through the app. Really popular battery. Yeah, I mean the scalability through a parallel junction box, obviously that is slightly different from the Energy Cube where you stack vertically. These go side to side, so you need to be mindful of the wall space required to add additional units. They're heavier as well. Some of you will be aware of that. The EP5 just over 50 kilos. The EP11 it's just over 100. Okay, so it is a heavy unit. It's not a one-man lift, put it that way. Again, we are developing a lift system that we can supply to our installers to help them with the mounting of these batteries soon enough, probably to coincide with the launch of the Evo at the end of June, beginning of July. I believe the EP3 is still available. It's a commercial question. I'm not the best person to ask on that. If you've got access into Greg or one of the commercial team, might be a question for them. But as far as I know, there are still a few EP3s available. But yeah, it might be something you need to contact our commercial team about to be sure. Excuse me. So just quickly, those of you that are installing Fox already will be familiar probably with those service channels that you see in there. The main service line the number did change about 3 months ago. So hopefully everybody's aware of that. That's the number that you can see there. We do have a WhatsApp service as well. That's available to elite installers. So that's people that have been through the formal Fox training. Okay, so look, what we're saying to you is if you're on site and you need support, always call us. You'd have to excuse me. Struggling. On-site support, always use the phone number that you see there, okay, to get through to us. The WhatsApp is useful though to ask general questions. If you've got a customer of yours that's raised a question, or you're looking at a system and you need something clarifying, the WhatsApp messaging service is very good for that because you're not going to get an immediate answer. You might be waiting half an hour for a response on WhatsApp. So it's a sort of service where you can fire away questions that don't require an immediate, response. I.e., I'm on site now. I need your help, Fox, because so that's what it's there for. Please utilize it. Email again. More general questions come through by email. We only allow end users to contact us via email. Okay, we try and keep those other channels I've mentioned, the telephone, the WhatsApp service, available only for installers. I think somebody asked how you get certified. If you go onto the website I'm about to show you in a minute on the next slide, you'll be able to see um, the training, the list of training dates and how you can book onto that to get certified. Very quickly on the right hand side there, we've got the warranty information. Differs slightly. We've referenced there the Evo being 12 years, just to make people aware of that because obviously a new product. The ECS batteries are 12 years. Everything else is 10. So EPs, inverters are 10 years. They do require registration on our website though, so you must go to our website to register the warranties in order to qualify for these extensions, these free extensions to either 10 or 12 years, depending on the product. Okay, so I'm waffling quite a bit, so I'm conscious of time. So if you want to move on to the next one, which is just a reference, I think, if there is another slide, it should be. Okay, when will the off-grid backup available for whole home? I think I covered that by saying that when we release the EPS box with the Evo end of June, beginning of July, it will be available then for across the range. So early July is the answer to that question. Because these battery modules are all slaves, will we have issue of future proofing and ability to add storage capacity after 1 year to battery degradation and reduce? Well, there's no real rule on that anyway, to be honest. Expansion of systems is not really a problem in that you could do it pretty much at any time after installation. The issue is, and you've referenced it yourself, you get degradation. So if you look at average degradation across a battery, LFP battery, say 2% per year, it varies slightly. What that means is at the end of year 2, you're going to have an existing system that's maybe at a 95%, 96% state of health. You add a new battery to it at that point, and all that happens is that new battery gets dragged down to that 95% performance. Okay, so you're just losing a bit of the benefit of the new battery, but they will work together. So for that reason, we kind of have a guidance on it that says 2 years. 2 years is a good time frame in which to expand the system. Beyond that, the degradation is such that maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it too far into the life of the system itself. But it's not a rule; it's just guidance. So that's fine. Okay, so the off-grid backup. So initially, the EPS box that we're launching will be single phase. There are already 3-phase EPS boxes available for our 3-phase hybrids, but there is a new one coming, the H3 Pro EPS box, which I think is a little bit behind the single phase box we're launching in early July. So time frame, I would probably say by the autumn for 3-phase. Like I said earlier, July for single phase for these. I mean, you could obviously the EPS is still there now. You can still achieve whole home backup as it stands, utilizing either an ATS or a manual changeover switch or wiring in for emergency circuits on a split board. But obviously, we want to make things a bit simpler. So we're launching this whole home backup gateway to coincide with the Evo. So that'll be out in July. Yeah, it's backs up 2 or 3 phases. Yeah. I think it will be EPS rather than UPS. To be honest with you, I'm waiting on the data sheet for the gateway or the EPS single phase EPS boxes. We're going to call it. I should be getting. I was hoping to have it for today. Okay, so the new data sheet and documentation looks like it's going to be towards the end of the week. So we'll put it on the website when it. In fact, I don't know if this next slide on or the one previous to it, it talks about the tech hub. No, it must be the bottom slide. There you go. So this website here, keep an eye on this. So this is fox-ess.tech, Tech. This is where we're now publishing guides, tutorials, information. The question you just asked me about the spec sheet for the gateway and specific questions about switchover time. That'll all be answered when we publish the information. It's all going to be here, videos, forums, all sorts of stuff like that. So this is our attempt to address common questions and issues by creating articles and how-to guides and videos. So from a technical point of view, keep an eye on that. And as new things come out, obviously we'll publish it directly to this website. Things, lots of useful articles on there already. Still in beta, still being added to. But if you have a browse through that, there's lots of common issues and questions that your customers might be asking you that we give quite a detailed thorough answer to that you can just basically point them to on a web link. But yeah, that's going to be added to. So if you're not familiar with that, let me know. Also on there, under the company tab, somebody asked about training. You'll see training and events are listed on there. So if you're interested in doing the Elite Installer training, you can see available dates on there and get yourself booked on. We do two options. One is a course we do in Coventry, where I'm based, but we're about to build a new training room. So it's kind of dates are a bit thin on the ground at the minute, but there are some in the diary, so you can come to us. We do remote sessions as well online for those of you that struggle to reach us. And we also do events around the country. One of the things we'll look to do with Segen, for example, is get down to their Medway facility and do some training down there in the near future. They will publicise that, and we will also do it through that link I've just mentioned on the website as well. So keep an eye on that. And there's other dates that will go in at various venues around the country. So yeah, hopefully that's all clear. There's no available date at the Coventry site. Yeah, I think everyone's booked up, isn't it? There will be some event made available soon. The reason for that is that we're about to fit out a new training room in the unit opposite, and we kind of filled up some dates. Didn't want to put any more on ahead of that move. We may have to put some more dates on because it's been delayed. So check that again in a few days' time. You'll probably see that there's some dates available. But that's more. Okay. Any more questions for me? I think it's going to be 100 amps, Stephen. The single phase gateway, be 100 amp. Okay, when scaling up the Evo, they would go side to side really. You couldn't have them in front of each other. You maybe have to go one above and one to the side, but generally speaking, the way that they've been designed is they go side to side. Well, does it back up three phases? I mean, the three phase would, yeah. It does. The three phase backup box would book across three phases, but obviously the single phase. So I don't know if Darren, if there's anything you want to add in there in terms of availability of some of these new products that we've been talking about, because obviously the Power Cube's new, and obviously the Evo. I know Segen have got Evos on order, and I think they're available to back order now, aren't they?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're going onto the portal, you can back order them. I think it's July. I think they're due in. But I don't think the Power Queue is actually on the portal just yet, but hopefully we're working on that. But
Yeah,
anything in regards of stocking, dates, prices, stuff like that, if you just reach out to your account manager, we'll be able to look into that for you. But everything that we've got available right this minute or future dates, stock availability, will be there on the portal for you anyway.
perfect. Yeah, I think that's it for me. I think I've covered. There are some new products coming on commercial. I'll mention it briefly now, but obviously this is a single phase storage session. Very quickly, the H3 Plus is a 50 to 100 kilowatt three-phase hybrid that will be out before the autumn. Okay, H3 Plus. So those of you that do our three-phase stuff, you've got the H3 Pro, which is 15 to 25. The H3 Plus will take us from 50 to 100 in a single hybrid inverter. So that's the only real, in addition to the things we've mentioned in terms of the new stuff we've covered today, that's the big product release over and above that that's coming out from Fox in the next sort of 6 months. Okay.
Perfect. Cracking. Thank you so much, Craig. That was really, really informative. If
No
there
worries.
are no more questions for Darren or Craig, we will wrap up there. I'm just stalling to see if anybody is typing, but I don't think anyone is. No, cool. Brilliant. Yeah, so this has all been recorded. So we'll send you out a full recording of this entire webinar so you can watch it back and share it with. Oh, Trevor Larkham. Hi, Trevor. How quick can you type, Trevor? That's the question. Yes. Can you have the PowerPoint? We'll share that too. Yeah, so you'll get a nice email from me with the webinar and the PowerPoint, everything we covered today. So you can go through and share that with your teams if you need to. Yeah, thank you so much to Craig for joining us. Thank you for Darren as well. And thank you to all of you for coming and joining the webinar. We hope you've got something out of it. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.
Thanks, George. Thanks, Darren. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers,
Cheers.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.